All right, so yeah, what we're working with this week is the hemp cord jewelry kits. Some of you got the beads, some of you got the seashells. So depending on what you received in your supplies, that's what you're gonna wanna work with, right? So this cord is like really thin. So I'm not gonna use it to show you examples because it'd be hard to see on camera. Instead, I'm gonna use this paracord to kind of show you. And then also there's a lot of great videos out there. I think that one of the hardest things to do is to incorporate the seashell in your work. But once you get the hang of it, just like anything else, once you get the hang of it, it's like pretty easy. It's like getting a pattern and a rhythm. And once you get the first one done and you do it well, then you'll do good with the rest. But anyway, talking about, I'm just gonna go with the bracelet. So first of all, we're gonna work with 2 cords. And the length of the cords, if you actually open your little packet and the little instructions, it'll tell you, depending on what you wanna make, what size to cut those cords. So I think there's instructions like to make a bracelet, there's instructions to make a necklace. But if you kind of read here, oh look, there's a choker, there's a bracelet, and is that all this one has? Yeah, this one has one for a choker, one for a bracelet. So if you kind of follow the directions and see what the measurements are, it'll kind of tell you what you need to cut. And then you just follow this, and it should give you more than enough string to be able to complete what it is you're trying to make. So take a look at those instructions, read them, especially for the measurements of the cord to begin with. All right, so just real quick, I'm gonna try to draw this out. So you have 2 cords. The first thing, you're gonna wanna make a knot that has this opening. This is where it's gonna close, and that loop is gonna hold it together, your bracelet, so it doesn't fall off. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna have 2 core ropes. And then the next, like you saw in the video, 2 of the remaining 2 is what you're gonna knot. So what I'm gonna show you 2 knots, which is pretty easy. A square knot, and a spiral knot. So I always tell people, if you can tie your shoe, then you can make these, because it's pretty much the first step of tying your shoe, right? If I have my shoe here, boom, and I'm gonna tie this, you know, I kind of do this thing and boom, tie it, first step. So if you can do that over under, then you can make these bracelets. They're pretty easy. All right. Let me put my shoe back on. All right, so square knot, spiral knot. And it's the same knot. The only difference is that on one, you're alternating back and forth. On the spiral knot, you're just doing the same knot over and over, and it naturally gives it a twist. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So anyway, so you're gonna take these 2 outer cords and you're gonna twist them and tie them back and forth to create your pattern. I'm just kind of drawing. And if you want, you can embellish your bracelet by, you know, putting a bead. And then you tie a knot around it to keep it in place. You can also embellish your bracelet by putting one of those nice little seashells, and you would tie it in place. And then once you get done, you will tie another knot out here. And this knot is what would go into this loop to hold it in place and keep it on your arm, right? Or if you're making a necklace, keep it on your neck, right? Or an anklet, keep it on your ankle, right? All right, so that's pretty much the basics of it. 2 cords, you tie a knot to make 4 strands. 2 of the strands are the core, 2 of the strands is what you're gonna tie to create your bracelet. All right, so what does it look like? So I have, like I said, paracord. So hopefully it's easier for you to see. I kind of already bent it in half. It's my halfway point, and here is the half of both of them. I'm gonna try to keep this as even as possible with both of them, same size. And all I'm gonna tie is an overhand knot, which means I'm just gonna go over my finger, and then that loop I made, put the cord through there. Now, this, you don't want it too big. You wanna think about, you want it big enough so a knot can go through it, but not super big, because if this opening is way too big, then the bracelet's gonna fall off. So a lot of times if we just pull it, it's gonna create a big hole, a big opening at that end. So you wanna make sure you work it up and keep it nice and tight, all right? So once I'm at this part, you're gonna wanna hold down your strings with something. If you have tape, great. If you don't have tape, other things that work is maybe a clipboard. I'm trying to find my clipboard. You know, a clipboard where you clip it down, hold it in place. If you don't have a clipboard, if you don't have tape, try to find like a big book and put this like in between the book so it holds it. But what you want to do is, core these. I'm going to use the purple as a core and the yellow or the orange as the outer, all right? So first one, I'm going to start with the spiral one because that one's like super easy, spiral knot. So for this, you're going to do a very repetitive tying over and over and over. So for me, it's easier to go this way, but you can go the other way also because I'm left-handed. So for me, the easiest thing to do is start with my string on the left. I'm going to loop it over. I'm going to take my second string, go over that one, kind of make like a triangle. This one over the middle, this one over that one. Then I'm going to reach through here, and this string on the right is going to go all the way under everything and go through this loop. So I'm going to reach through here and pull this and tie this. Now the key is for it to be nice and tight. You know, in the video that we saw earlier, they did tape this cord down also. So if that's going to help you keep it nice and tight, then you can do that. But just keep in mind that you want that to be nice and tight, and just work it with your hands. So one more time, looped over, this one over that one. And then this string is going to go under and through over here. So I'm just kind of reaching through and tying it nice and tight.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is it the same way that one lady was doing it, like when she was taking it down that last video we watched?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And
doing it the way he did it, work out the same too?
the video we just saw?
Yeah.
Okay, so what she was doing there in that video, she was doing a square knot. And I'll show you what the difference is here in a minute. With this knot here, I need to create like maybe 10, 12 of these knots so you can kind of see what it does. What it does, it's like a spiral DNA kind of effect. But you need to do it quite a bit so you can start seeing it spiraling. And the other thing with this paracord is that it's like super big. So it's gonna take a couple more knots for you to see it. I'm gonna do 2 more and then I'll switch over to the square knot. See, and once you get the hang of this, like, it's actually pretty easy. And I don't know if you can see that, but let me see if I can put it closer to the camera. So this pattern, what it's gonna do is gonna start twisting. And like I said, right now, it looks like super exaggerated because it's a fat cord. Now with this thin stuff, it's gonna look, you can see the spiral, but it's not gonna be so aggressive, all right? So that's how the spiral one works. Same tie over and over. Now what's the difference between the spiral and the square knot? The difference is that you're gonna alternate between starting with the left and starting with the right side. So what does that look like? Boom, boom, boom. Let me see if I can get my tape back. So I'm gonna tape this back down. So with the spiral, I was using the same knot over and over. I was starting with this side, tying it, doing the same thing repetitive back in one direction. So with the square knot, what you'll do is you'll do one on the left and then you'll alternate to one on the right. So now I'm going to start with the one on the right, loop that one over. That one goes there and create that triangle, and that one will go under. And then I'll go to the left, over, and under. And like I said earlier, if you can tie your shoe, you can make these, because the only difference is that now you have the core that's in between. But this little tie is, the first step of tying your shoes. And now I'm going back and forth from right to left. And what that'll do, it'll make a nice flat bracelet instead of spiraling. And I'll hold it up in a minute to show you. But it'll give you a nice flat bracelet instead of one that spirals. I did that one wrong. That one should have been the other side. And that's the thing that people mess up also, is they forget what side is supposed to go. One trick that I always tell people is get the string that you're going to start knotting with. Heck, let me get a Sharpie and mark it. That way, if you need to stop or you forget, you know which one it is. So what does that mean? What does this mark mean? That means that this side is the one that I'm going to start with all the time, because all it's doing is going back and forth, right? So it means this one that I put the mark on is the one I'm going to loop first. Boom, first. And then go under. And then in case I need to stop, I need to stop, take a break, and I come back, I'm like, oh, crud, which one am I supposed to do? Look for the mark. Be like, oh, there's the mark. So that means that's the one you're going to loop first. This one over, under, and it goes back and forth. And like I said, once you get the hang of this, it goes pretty quick. Usually the first one, you're going to see where you need to pay attention and get better at. Because I can guarantee you, unless you've done this before, the first ones are not going to come out all really nice looking. You're going to have certain areas where they're going to be loose. The knots are going to be loose to where you can see the core real bad. They're not going to be nice and straight. There's going to be issues. The only thing I can tell you is keep practicing, and then when you're done, take a look at what the problems were so you can fix them when you start another one. I would say that probably the main issues is that the core isn't tight enough and it's like getting drug up, or that you're not making your knots tight enough. And the other thing you can do is work it with your hand as you go, push them up so it's nice and tight to make it look really nice and appealing, like very visually appealing. Okay, like I said, this was a spiral knot, right? Nice little spiral. And then this one is a square knot where it goes nice and flat, right? So that's what I wanted to show you. The last thing, I don't know if I have enough string because this one's almost running out, but the last thing you would do to finish it off is you would tie a nice fat knot right there at the end. Let's see if I can. That's going to be tough. I don't know if I have enough string. Let's try it. And then that knot would finish off your run, and also would serve as the knot to go through the opening that you started with to put your bracelet on. So at the very end, you would put this on, nice fat knot. If it's not fat enough, do another one. Another thing you can do is you can kill the run with the knot, and then you can put a bead and then tie another knot at the end, and that bead would be what would go through there to hold it in place. But I think next class we'll talk a little bit more about finishing them off. For now, I think today, just with what we've gone over, you should be able to start one off and try the knots and see which ones you like better. And if you do get a good one, try to get to the length that you think you need and then put it up for the day. And then next class, we will go over how to finish them off more into detail, okay? All right.